Welcome to another edition of Delighting Our Customers, the DBSync Way series, where we share a little bit about who we are and what we do best. Today, our discussion focuses on the benefits of controlling storage costs through efficient data management. My colleague Rishabh and I will be discussing the necessity of understanding your data, the impacts of managing it, and most importantly, not managing it effectively, and the benefits of doing so for your bottom line. Now, Rishabh, we know that all companies want to control costs in all aspects of their business. Why is it so crucial to manage their data well in order to do so?
See, the amount of data being generated from different sources have been increasing exponentially with every passing day, and to store and manage and extract useful information from such huge amount of data is still a challenge, right? And for almost all of us. And as we can see that IDC has shown that about by 2025, the amount of data is going to increase by 175 zettabyte, and that's like a huge number, which not only make managing data challenging, but could make cost astronomically high in trying to do so. And with this increasing data, it's very important to know how you keep track of your data and you can properly manage it and avoid expense that can come suddenly by reaching limit of your data users or reaching limit of your SaaS data application.
So it also sounds like the problem is maybe not just the amount of data increasing every year, but the problem or inability to actually use the amount of data productively. Now, Forrester analyzes that most companies waste 70% of their data. That is basically about 60 or 70% goes unused for analytics, which sounds like a loss in productivity as well as a loss in profitability, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. See, the unused data is not only just increasing the amount of storage, it also giving you a bad quality of data. Like it's converting your data into a bad data, and increasing cost. It causing you business inefficiency. And research has been found that the average yearly cost of companies suffering due to this poor quality of data is around 9.7 million. And they've also surveyed that organizations learn about their cost associated with the impact of poor data. It's cost around 14.2 million on an average, and that you can say that it's approximately costing 30% of the revenue of any data of any organization due to this low quality of data. So it's very important to maintain your data properly and to use it
it's clear.
More
it
effectively.
Sounds like bad data equals bad business. So that data, if it's not managed well, leaves businesses vulnerable to not only revenue losses, but inefficient operations and poor decision making, which can not only erode client trust, but impact a business's reputation negatively, correct?
Exactly. Many SaaS applications provide limited amount of storage, and they require you to add on. And like in block structure, you won't have to buy an extra block of space every time you run out of space. So it gets very expensive. Like you keep unused data and other files can consume a lot of your space quickly, and you'll suddenly hit the limit. And you won't believe it can cost you up to 1,500 per year for just 500 MB of data. So it's a very expensive way. And also you have mentioned that it's reduce your productivity because you are dumping a lot of data. It's making your server slow. It's making you feel like you are not been able to use your previous data. You're not been able to extract a good information from it. And for example, I would like to talk about this one of our client I remember who works in education company, and the work is to provide an alternative to public schools and has the challenge of managing large amount of data for multiple sources as they operate in many states across US. Each state has its own regulation and metrics to achieve, right? So which make it very expensive and resource intensive to them to monitor and to get information from all different sources. So by using management system, they were able to pull data into under one umbrella, and they have been able to utilize it less resource, and they can see the big picture by understanding all the data under one umbrella. They can see that what's going on everywhere. They this make more nimble and effective them for analyzing data and see what's have been doing, and they can plan it accordingly. They can plan around it, and they can do it very easily and make it easy to access, controlling and reducing cost all around.
So it sounds like from the example you just told us that they've been able to control costs by managing their data more efficiently. And though it seems to me that this result then running their overall business a little bit more efficiently. And so they can access the big and small data from one source and have an up-to-date and accurate sense of where they are and having to store data rather than in multiple places like they had been doing. So I imagine not having this cohesion can cause a host of problems for many businesses. Maybe you can share with us how data that is not managed well can be detrimental, leading to some probably big losses in productivity.
Exactly. Say if you are not being able to use your data properly, it can cause you in many ways. The first one is like you can lose opportunity, like you can miss opportunity. A business lucrative opportunity about new products, about knowing their customers and their needs. And if your competitor is very good with data, if they are using their data properly, they will come to know about the need of the customer, need of the market, and they will capitalize upon it. They will snatch your opportunity away. So it's very important for you to understand your data, your customer data, your market data, that's what's going in the market. And that can be done through analyzing your data properly. The second very important thing is you might lose revenue. So say poor quality of data can lead you to lost revenue in many ways. For example, if you are not been able to communicate properly about the need of your customer, about what your customer needs from sales point, from your sales is not been able to convey it properly to your support team or something like that. So you won't be able to understand what the customer needs, and then that directly or indirectly will lead to the loss of customer, like loss of revenue. Each customer is adding up to your revenue, and if you keep losing your customer because of bad data, you're losing revenue day by day. So that's second thing which is very bad for your organization. You just can't afford to lose revenue on a daily purpose. And the third thing is like it can lead you to take poor decisions, right? Like poor quality of data can cause you inefficiency in those business processes which depend on data only. Like you depend on reports for auditing product or for creating new product, or reports on how your marketing campaigns are going on and everything. So if you're not getting a proper amount of data, or if you are not being able to extract information from those data, so it might lead you getting wrong idea about the market, wrong idea about your customer, and you will lose, like you will just keep running around data and fixing errors instead of focusing on your core duties. So that will lead you for like taking poor decision and all. And I understand that. I remember one good example. Like there was one of our clients. There was one of our clients who like they were managed city inquiries and requests for major metropolitan cities in US, and they started with us with just intention to just like migrating data from Salesforce, which they were using as a depository for their data. Like, but once they were able to get their data from the Salesforce servers, they're able to incorporate their apps like analytical tools to determine the trends on the type of requests they were getting, and they were like, it's very good for them to analyze like what kind of information, like what kind of requests they are getting. For example, if they were getting a lot of requests from a dead animal removal from some area, they might need to organize like a rodent control solution for that area. If they are getting a lot of complaint about like street lights are not on, like the streets aren't getting off, that they need to implement more security in that area. So these things help them to manage their data, manage their resource, and get more information. And see, by doing this, they have been very effective and very efficient in their work, and that increased their productivity. And also, they were able to manage their budget very effectively by knowing what resource to buy and where to invest it.
Yeah, that sounds like kind of a win-win all around, that by organizing, analyzing their data, they were able to allocate resources and money more constructively, and therefore reducing redundancy and basically maybe even some challenges of potential waste or abuse, which definitely is going to result in some greater efficiency. Now, I imagine too, with all the moving parts of city government, from that example you just told us, that they probably need their data managed extra well, because there's always the threat of legal and regulatory review. Now, we already know how audits on mismanaged data can disrupt a business and have damaging consequences, but give us some examples of what kind of impact that can have.
Right. See, organization may be large or small, they need to comply with internal policies. and regulation that govern data retention or recovery policies, like how you keep your data. And you need to follow what in whatever state, whatever city you are in, you have different compliances, whatever business you are doing. Like if you are in financial business, you have different kind of compliance. If you are in healthcare, you have different compliances. And if you are not been able to meet those compliances, you might end up paying huge amount of fine. Like if you are in health insurance organization, and if you are not been able to meet HIPAA compliance, you might end up in giving 1.5 million of data, 1.5 million of rupees for per year, and you have to keep your data for 6 years. That's their retention policies. So it's very important for you to organize your data, not only organize to keep your data, your valuable information, like the critical and private information about patients, about your customers, about your employees. You keep a lot of information about them. You just can't lose those data. You cannot just destroy those data. So that's very important for you to understand that what amount of data you are, what amount of what sort of data you are storing with you. And you should also understand that there are many compliances. Like in today's day, data has been very critical for all organizations, and there has been very strict compliances. Like you can end up paying about more than $1 million per year from your business, and that's not good for your business.
No, you're hurting you. That's not an understatement. That is definitely not good for a business. So you basically just shown us in these past examples some red flags for not managing our data appropriately. And it's kind of clear that with a better understanding of our data, we can basically make a plan to management so we can avoid those pitfalls you've just illustrated for us. So what do we have to consider when making a plan?
See, having a plan is a very critical option. Like you always need to have a plan ahead of any disaster happens to you. And for me, like the first step, which I understand is important, is to ask for information, like ask you questions from your data. And the very first question is your data paying rent? So it's sound very funny, like how a data can pay its rent. So we have seen that data can pay its rent in the previous examples, where we have seen that a good quality of data can help you in gaining more customers, help you in gaining understanding your market in a very good way, and you can capitalize on that. You can create more opportunities, you can create more customers through that. You can understand your customers' need, and that will help you to gain revenue, right? So that revenue is nothing. That's the rent that your data has been paying to you. So that's very important, that your data should not only just sit idle on your server. It should do something. It should give you a proper information to capitalize on it. The second thing is is your data helping you to grow? Is only the amount of data has been growing, or those growing amount of data is also helping you to grow along with it, right? And that can be done by helping you to take a proper business decisions. As you have seen that if you don't have a proper information, if you don't have proper reports, if you're not been able to extract information from your data, then you are not been able to capitalize on it. You've not been able to understand what your data wants to say. And in the result that you are not been able to take a critical decision based on those information. So it's very important that your data is helping you to grow, helping you to understand, and it's helping you to grow your business. Because if you understand the need of your customer, you will be able to give them a better service. And a better service means a more satisfied customer. That is, as we started, that delighting our customer. And for delighting our customer, we need to understand their need. And it's very important for understanding the need that we understand that data that has been provided by them. So it's very important for us ask this question to the data. And the third question is it helping your time of audit? As we have seen in previous slide, that you might end up giving 1.5 million or even 20 million of your revenue, of your hard-earned money, just for compliances, because you have not been keeping data properly. So it's very important that your data can save you at the time of compliance. You have all the information, you have all the records, and at the end you are giving those information to compliance officers to get all the information from there. So it's very important to all your data should save you in time of compliances.
Okay, so yeah, those all sound like really important questions. So then it kind of seems to me, though, that before we can answer those questions effectively, we might first have to be aware of what kind of data we actually have. So can you tell us a little bit more about the types of data?
Exactly. See, the all data that is collected by organizations is different in nature, right? And they have different functionality dependent on their age, frequency of use, and type of information, right? Or if you want, you can pause, right?
Oh, did I go out of the thing?
Yeah.
Sorry, my thing fell off the desk. I was trying to do that. I didn't realize you could see that. Can people see that?
I think because on my
Oh,
screen I can
crap.
see that.
Oh, wait, let me stop recording.
Yeah, you can pause. We'll move from.
So those are all good questions, but it seems to be before we can really answer these questions, we have to first be aware of what kind of data we actually have. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Exactly. See, all data that has been collected by organization is different in nature and have different functionalities depending on their age, frequency of use, and type of information they carry. So on those basis, there are three different types of data. First one is hot data, right? The hot data is nothing but those data which we use on a very high frequency, like high rate, like daily reports or something that we use daily. That information is used by different organizations on a daily basis, on a regular basis, and this information can give you up to date that what's going on in your organization on a particular date or a particular day. That if some opportunity comes in, that's given to the sales team, and that's all done on a daily basis on same day. So these informations are very high in frequency that they are used frequently on a single that. So these are hot data. The second type of data is warm data. See, warm data is nothing but a form of data which is not used at a very high frequency, but that's not kept for long time also. These are like weekly or monthly reports to analyze our progress in last 1 month or last 1 week, depending on the structure of the organization, how they organize, like how they evaluate their progress in either they evaluate on a weekly basis or monthly basis or quarterly basis. So these are reports or like analyzing some summary that tells us about that what has happened in last few weeks or few months in organizations. So these are warm data, and as we have talked, like you can keep your hot data on your server because it's used very frequently. You use it on a daily basis, and warm data can be replicated to some on-prem server where you can use it on a daily basis. You can pull it from there. And the third form of data is cold data. See, cold data is the historical data that has been kept for compliance's purpose. See, we have seen that you have to keep your data for 6 years or 5 years to meet certain compliance requirement. So keeping a 5-year-old data on your server can make your server a bit slow. It can reduce space on your server or on your applications. So you need to archive those data for a long period of time. And also you can retrieve those information from those data to see how your company have been doing in past few years, or what are the things that you implemented and worked good for you, and what are the things that you implemented and didn't work good for you. So these are the information you can get from historical data, and it's good for you if you keep them safe and archive them. So it's there are three different kind of data, and it's very useful. And data has to be cared and for according to their needs and depending how you are going to use it.
Okay, so now that we understand our data and how best to kind of organize it, what are our options for using it to increase efficiency and avoid that compliance trap that we just talked about, and also control costs?
Right. See, there could be three options for you to manage your data. First one is it's a very simple option that came to everyone's mind. Like, why are we talking about it? Why we just can't delete it? Right. That's a very viable option that we think that it's very easy. We'll delete all the historical data, but we have seen that if you delete your historical data, you might end up in paying fine for not meeting the compliance requirements from different compliances, right? You might end up giving a lot of your revenue in terms of fines to meet those requirements too. And that's not a good option. And also, as we have talked, that historical data tells a lot about your organization, how it grew, how what are the things that worked perfectly and what are the things which didn't work in the past. So you if something changed, you can just pick up your data and analyze it. Okay, this was the thing that we did and it worked. So deleting an older data, it's not that useful for any organization. It might end up in you might end up in a huge problem when you don't have your historical data with you. The second option is, which you might think like, okay, then what's the issue? We'll buy some space. But we have seen that buying around 500 MB of data can cost you around $1,500. And that's a huge amount, because we are not talking here about 1 or 2 GB of data. We are talking about a huge amount of data, as we have seen that it's going to increase by around 175 zettabyte, and that's a huge amount. So you just can't end up paying a lot of amount of your hard and money just to store data, and that you just can't utilize. So it's it's feasible for them, those who have very good investor, very strong investments, like they have some angel investors who are just willing to pay for a huge amount of space, so you can buy it. Otherwise, I don't think that any organization will like to spend a huge amount of their earning hard-earned money to just store their historical data. And the third option for me, which I think is very viable option, is the backupping or archiving your data. You can just move your data to on-prem servers, or you can move your data to cloud server, and from there you can just retrieve it whenever you want it. You can just restore your data. You can analyze your data in a better way. You can run analytical tools on those data, and you know what information you are trying to get out of your data. So according to me, these are the three options.
Okay, so basically, yeah, all of them a person or a business could do, but you've kind of suggested that while it might be tempting to delete data, the older data, that's probably not a great solution. As we've seen, those fines can be pretty stiff when you need that information, and that unless you have endless pockets, as we say, probably continuing just to buy new storage isn't a great option either. So it kind of sounds like you're leading us towards the smart solution, which is backup and archiving your data, because that's going to hopefully help us be more efficient, keep us in compliance, and keep our costs affordable. So tell us a little bit about how that option works.
Exactly. See, for backupping or archiving our data, we have two different options for SaaS application. First is either you replicate your data, or second is either you backup your data. See, the main difference between replicating or backupping your data is on replication, you move your data to a on-prem server, like you have your own hosted servers, and you move all your data to those servers. So it's very helpful for you if you want to meet your regulatories, in-house regulatory and compliances, and it's very useful for mid to large enterprise, right? You can run analytical tools on those. And for small to large, like if you talk about SaaS replication and backup as a combined data management tool, so it's suitable for all, from small to large enterprise, right? So you can all of them can host your data, like you can move all your historical data to cloud, right? And all your hot and warm data to you can replicate all your hot and warm data on your local server that you need on a weekly or monthly or even a daily basis. You can run analytical tools on those. You can get very useful information out of those, and which can help you to implement to like refine your product, to help your customer understand your customer, right? So these are very vital informations that you might extract from your data if you move them to your local server. And also, if you're backupping of your data, you can retrieve it at any time. If some compliance, you may want to meet some compliances, you can retrieve your data and you can show it as a proof that, okay, I have all this data. And also, if you're like moving your data to a backup server, you don't have to worry much about it, because all the third-party hosts which which keep them for you are very compliant, very efficient. They are compliant. They try to meet all the compliances, and they keep your data safe. And you just don't have to worry about it. You just set it on, and you just forget about it. They will meet compliances for you. You can audit on those data, and you can keep record of all what's happening, who changed what. You can keep a complete track and control of your data by just replicating and backupping all your data. So it's a very viable option for like all organizations. It might be small organization or a large enterprise. It doesn't matter, because all organizations, like we live in an increasing data centric world, right? And business cannot afford to compromise on the availability of data or not the level of security required to protect it. Like today, business model requires an always on level of service. And I think these two options give them those flexibility to be always on.
Yeah. So basically, it sounds like what you're saying is with today's absolute focus on data, we have to have an insurance policy. And data management services provide that insurance because they allow us to manage our storage costs, get better insights on the type of data that we have and how best to utilize it, and also allows us to be better informed and prepared so we can be critical in our decision making and ensure our businesses are always kind of running at their peak. So it really,
Exactly.
you've really kind of opened our eyes here and certainly helped us get a better understanding of what data management actually is and why it's so important to control it, both for our costs, but really for more a productive environment. And obviously to make sure that, that productivity is also ensuring that we don't get caught later having to pay huge fines because we haven't really thought about or managed our data well. So thank you so much, Risha, for sharing your insights with us and helping us to be a little bit better at what we do. So for more handy tips like the ones we've just heard, please continue to explore our blogs on our website, our YouTube publications, and continue to tune into our Delighting Customers, the DBSync Way series. Until then, we'll continue to get your apps and keep your apps talking. Thank you.
Thank you.